Welcome back to the Resource Nexus Podcast. But first, a quick note for anyone new here. This isn't just hot takes or fan talk. Every insight you're about to hear comes straight from my model, designed to measure roster strength, player impact, and team makeup, all grounded in solid, objective data. If you want the full team and player breakdowns, head over to the resourcenexus.com. Let's kick things off at the top of the ACC. Duke checks in at number 1 in the league and 10th nationally with a team rating of 3.6. Now, I've been more skeptical of Jon Scheyer than most, but at this point I think he's earned at least some benefit of the doubt when it comes to managing freshman-heavy rosters, even if the path still feels a little uncertain. And yep, he's going to have to rely on them again this year, but make no mistake, he's stacked. Cameron Boozer leads the way, the number 8 player in the country, rocking a 5.6 rating. There's real star power here. And right behind him is a guy I think might be the most underrated in the entire conference, Malik Brown. He's ranked 67th nationally with a 4.1 rating, and quietly, he was one of the most efficient players in the entire country at Syracuse. I know some people are going to call him a backup level guy, but he was top 3 nationally in both true shooting and offensive rating and made all defense. The dude wasn't in the wrong system. He was just behind the wrong guys. So I'm just assuming Scheyer can get Syracuse-level Malik Brown back. Now, I was surprised that Tyrese Proctor isn't returning. I actually think that's a mistake, but at the same time, I don't see it as a major loss. It would have been nice to have an experienced guard back, sure. But the guy had the worst defensive rating on the team among players who actually played, 100.6, while Duke's team average was 94.3. He didn't create, he didn't assist, and he wasn't doing much of anything, even against a strength of schedule ranked just 55th, career 36% from 3, and for someone billed as a shooter, pretty unimpressive true shooting numbers. After that, you got Dame Sarr at 161 nationally, rated 3.4, Patrick Ngongba at 199, rated 3.1, and Isaiah Evans just sneaks into the top 300 at 298 with a 2.7. Those 5 guys alone, Boozer, Brown, Sarr, Ngongba, Evans, give you a better core than half the teams ranked in the top 25. Outside of that core, Caden Boozer, Caleb Foster, and Nicholas Kamenia are all rotation guys, each ranked just outside the top 400. And here's the thing. Duke isn't relying on any upperclassmen to carry the load. They're doing this the Scheyer way. All in on freshmen and pure talent, coming in second in the ACC and 20th nationally. We've got Louisville sitting with a 3.5 team rating. Now let's talk about the dude that nobody's talking about, but absolutely should be, Sananda Frew. Ranked 18th nationally with a 5.3 rating. Frew might be the best player flying under the radar anywhere in the country. What he just did in the BBL, that wasn't ordinary. 13 points, 6 boards, a 23 PER, 715% true shooting in one of the toughest pro leagues in the world. Just to give you some perspective, Carson Edwards, the NCAA legend, and now in his prime at 27, only put up 14.9 points and a 16 PER in that same league. So Frew, putting up 12 and 6 with that level of efficiency, that's wild. And this isn't just one of those Euro leagues where washed-out guys go to jog around and cash a check. We're talking real dudes. I recognized a dozen former college stars while digging into the BBL, bigs like Isaiah Cozart, who averaged 16 and 10 with 4 blocks in the NCAA last year, Osun Osunniyi, Chuba Ohams, Malik Osborne, DJ Horn. Even guys like DeMarcus Simons and Tra Holder are still getting buckets over there. A lot of these dudes were 15 and 10 types in college, and Frew was outproducing all of them. That said, here comes the concern. I don't trust Pat Kelsey to actually play him. Kelsey has this infuriating pattern of rolling 10-man rotations and giving his best players 19 minutes a game while the 11th guy off the bench logs 14. Last season, I'll be honest, the injuries might have saved him from himself. That roster basically forced his hand. With 7 healthy bodies, he couldn't overcoach it. Guys like Ante Bursovic, who would have normally been yanked for missing a help rotation, actually got to stay on the court, build chemistry, play through mistakes, and not live in fear of getting benched for a missed box out. But this year, if Kelsey reverts to form, we could see Frew stuck in the 19-minute purgatory again. And don't get me wrong, I really like this roster. Conwell is back, ranked 97th with a 3.7. Adrian Woolley is at 130 with a 3.5. Michael Brown Jr. gives them another backcourt weapon. He's 166 nationally, rated 3.4. Adding guys like Cason Pryor, Isaac McNeely, and Ali Khalifa, all in the 200s. And the talent is definitely there, and it's just about letting them cook. But let's not forget, Kelsey's resume doesn't exactly scream elite coach. One top 100 KenPom finish in 13 years. That's it. Charleston paid him over $1 million a year. Top 90 money nationally. And he still couldn't clear par for the course. Meanwhile, guys like John Becker, getting 6 top 75 finishes at Vermont, a place where no one wants to live, and 0 local talent. Now that's coaching. So yeah, I like the roster. Frew's a star. The supporting cast is there. But Kelsey, he might be the one thing holding this whole thing back. NC State checks in at 3rd in the ACC and 25th nationally with a team rating of 3.3. Look, this program's about to look very different under Will Wade, and that's a good thing. Wade's already shown he knows what he's doing. McNeese jumped from the abyss to a top 65 team, and at LSU he had 3 top 24 finishes in 5 years, and not exactly a fluke. And now he steps into a better job with more resources, and he's already got a roster that fits. Let's start with a headline move, Vin Allen Lubin. UNC fans can keep pretending it made sense to play Washington over him, but anyone who was actually watching or just looking at the data knows better. Lubin ranked 66th nationally with a 4.1 in our model, and he's going to pop this year. He was statistically dominant compared to Washington all season. Even in January, the gap was already obvious. And it never closed. The dude played 28 minutes a game in the SEC, was top 15 in block rate, rebound rate, field goal percentage, and PER, and somehow couldn't get consistent run at UNC while they trotted out 6-foot guards and a 6'3" small forward next to him. What were we doing? Now he finally gets a real chance next to rugged guys like Darian Williams, who ranks 27th nationally with a 4.9 and might be the most versatile forward in the league. Terrence Arsenault, ranked 131 with a 3.5. And Quadir Copeland at 279 with a 2.8, who adds even more physicality and switchability. In other words, it's a real front court now. This roster has cohesion. It makes sense. Trey Holloman and Matthew Abel both rank just inside the top 360, and they won't win you games solo, but they also won't lose you games with bad decisions. You can build with that. And then there's depth. Jerry Ding, Paul McNeil. They're not headline guys, but they're on theme. They bring length, athleticism, and just enough skill to contribute when needed. Wade has a track record for finding value. He built up McNeese, all went from outside the top 300 to top 100 type teams within a year or two under the right coach. No need to be patient in this era, and NC State looks primed to make a massive jump from 125th to the top 25. Back to Lubin for a second. Because this needs to be said. He tied for UNC's best defensive rating, ranked 29th in the country in offensive rating, 16th in true shooting, and was a net plus 31 per 100 possessions. That's impact. The guy's done it at every stop. Despite being misused, despite being undersupported, despite the narrative, this move to state, it gives him a real chance to get 28-plus minutes a night. And if he does, don't be shocked if he's first team All-ACC on a legit top 25 squad. Honestly, I'd love to see him blow up just to stick it to UNC. They had a top 10 level talent in their own locker room, and they benched him. North Carolina sits 4th in the ACC this year, 27th nationally, with a team rating of 3.2. And I got to be real with you. This is a $14 million roster that still feels like it was built off vibes and vibes alone. UNC's paying Hubert Davis less than top 30 money. And after a national title appearance, that's kind of wild. Honestly, Jaren Stevenson might be making more than him. And I'm only half joking. Look, I used to defend Hubert, title game. Sweet 16, first 3 years, he looked better than late-stage Roy. But the Lubin situation last year and this roster build, yeah, I'm out. The Van Allen, Lubin stuff alone is enough to make you question what's going on in Chapel Hill. He was clearly better than Jalen Washington all year. Everyone saw it. I said it back in January. Statistically, it wasn't even close, but Hubert stuck with Washington way too long, while Lubin, with a 7-foot 1-inch wingspan and actual SEC production, with a 6-foot 3-inch wing and 2 6-foot guards backing him. UNC had no size in front of him and no idea how to use him, yet Lubin still drove a plus 31 net impact per 100 possessions, tops on the team, and posted 70% true shooting on the year. And when Hubert finally gave him more minutes, he rattled off 11 double-digit scoring games to close the season, many of them in just 15 to 20 minutes. And now, instead of Lubin, you're probably starting Jaren Stevenson, who has a 10 PER, 111 career defensive rating, and a negative point differential over 1,300 minutes. Or you're rolling with Soul Man, James Brown. Either way, that front court is looking extremely light. Now, Henry Visar is the bright spot here. He's ranked 44th nationally, carries a 4.5 rating, and he can hoop. There's skill there and spacing. And maybe, just maybe, if Hubert lets him launch threes, unlike Arizona, you got something to build on. Seth Trimble is a solid player too, ranked 70th with a 4.0 rating, but he's 6'3 inches, and they're playing him as a small forward. He better be lights out from three. Then we get to the wings and bench. Caleb Wilson and Luka Bogovac are both in the 160 to 180 range. Nice pieces at 3.4 and 3.3. Bogovac's international translation hasn't popped yet like we hoped, but he can shoot. 7th in the league in scoring last year in 59% true shooting, 41% from three. That's real, but after that, it's shaky. Powell, Stevenson, Kyan Evans, all ranked outside the top 400. Stevenson and Powell both posted sub-10 PERs, and that's who they're leaning on for rotation minutes. And this is what $14 million got you. One proven big, one proven bad big, a few unproven freshmen, and a roster that still somehow feels worse than last year. UNC had a path to upside if they kept Lubin and paired him with Visar. Instead, Lubin's heading to NC State, where he'll probably start, and UNC is left hoping Bogovac becomes a star overnight. If not, this team is more name than game. All right, here we go. Part 1 of the 2025-26 ACC Preview, hitting teams ranked 5th through 7th in the conference. Let's jump right in. Virginia rounds out the top 5 in the ACC, sitting 37th nationally with a team rating of 2.9. But this whole ranking really hinges on one key factor, Thais DeRidder's eligibility. This guy's ranked 32nd nationally with a 4.7 rating. And honestly, he's one of the most impressive international players I've translated lately. Here's a stat that blew me away. DeRidder averaged 10 points per game with a 17 PER over 34 games in the ACB. That's not just good, that's serious professional level production. If he's cleared to play, Virginia could climb the ranks pretty quickly. Malik Thomas is the next most proven guy, ranked 111th nationally with a 3.6 rating, providing a veteran scoring option to lean on. Then you have Johan Gruenlo checking in at 192 nationally with a 3.2 rating. Dallin Hall, Devin Tillis, and Chance Mallory add depth behind that core, though their ratings fall more in the fringe 400s and 500s territory. A key reminder here, Ryan Odom had a top 30 team last year at Utah State, and this Virginia roster is absolutely capable of reaching that level again. If DeRidder plays, expect some surprises from this squad. Moving on, number 6 in the ACC and 44th nationally. We've got SMU holding a 2.9 team rating in the model. Kevin Miller is the engine for this team, ranked 112th nationally with a 3.6 rating. He delivers exactly what you want from a veteran ball handler. Miller's the clear alpha, and SMU's got the kind of continuity most programs would kill for. Fun fact, Miami and SMU actually rate out better than Virginia in pure talent according to my model. SMU also benefits from solid continuity and a competent coach. On the front court, Samet Yigitoglu stands 6'11" and ranks 191 nationally with a 3.2 rating. Not a game changer, but a very reliable contributor. BJ Edwards adds a 3.1 rating at 213 nationally, and Jaron Pierre rounds out the top 4 with a 2.7 rating, sitting at 302 nationally. After that, it's more role player territory. Nana Owusu-Anane at 2.2, Johan Traore at 2.0, and Sam Walters at 1.9. So depth isn't SMU's strong suit, but the top half of the roster is definitely functional. Miller might be a bit underrated nationally, but the model sees him clearly. Bottom line, this is a top 50 team built around his steady hand. Now, at 7th in the ACC and 46th nationally, Miami posts a team rating of 3.1. Jai Lucas really exceeded expectations in recruiting this offseason. I wasn't initially impressed with the hire, but this team's talent is undeniable. Here's where it gets interesting. Miami ranks 32nd nationally in pure talent. That's not just noise, that's legitimately high. But coaching and fit, big question marks. I was skeptical about Lucas's coaching chops when he was hired, but give the guy credit, the man recruited. Now we'll find out if he can actually coach. They need to stagger their big men, Uday and Renaud, as much as possible. It's a clunky fit when they play together. Speaking of Uday, here's some context that really stands out. He's one of the most underrated transfers this cycle. His defensive rating clocks in at 97, anchoring his defense, which ranks 34th nationally, 6 points better defensively than the next best player on the team. He's not just a scrub, he was a top 30 recruit out of high school for those who care about recruiting pedigree. According to the model, he's a steal. Now, Malik Renaud is the standout with a 42nd national rank and a 4.5 rating. He's the guy this team builds around. Backing him up is Ernest Uday, ranked 62nd nationally with a 4.2 rating. Miami's got a monster front court. Shelton Henderson checks in at 239 nationally with a 3.0 rating. True Washington is close behind at 249 with 2.9. Tree Donaldson adds depth at 274 and 2.8. A nice piece. Beyond that, it's a drop-off. Matthew Abel at 2.3, Dante Allen at 2.1, Divine Ugochukwu at 1.8, and both Paul Jobet and Austin Swartz at 1.7. Miami has enough talent and bodies, but what they don't have, at least not yet, is a proven system. If Lucas proves me wrong, this team can climb. But for now, they're riding pure talent and vibes. Number 8 in the ACC and 53rd nationally is Clemson, coming in with a 2.3 team rating. Now, the Brad Brownell hot seat saga has officially reached full circle status, and to his credit, he's managed to squeeze out some results lately. But this year, he's going to have to really squeeze because the roster feels shaky at best. Nick Davidson stands out as the best piece. He's ranked 89th nationally with a solid 3.8 rating. A legit forward with real skill who can carry some weight. After Davidson, though, the drop-off is steep. Jake Wallen is at 345 with a 2.6 rating. Dylan Hunter and RJ Godfrey both hover around 2.3. Then you've got Carter Welling at 1.9 and Justin Porter at 1.8. Bottom line, this is a bubble team at best, and that's if Brownell pulls some serious magic out of the hat. Otherwise, a down year could easily reopen that ever-persistent hot seat conversation, if it ever really closed in the first place. Sliding in at number 9 in the ACC, ranked 60th nationally, we find Syracuse, sitting with a 2.6 team rating. This feels like a pivotal season for Adrian Autry. The key here is Donnie Freeman, who has real star potential and ranked 173rd nationally with a 3.3 rating. If there's a breakout on this roster, he's the guy. J.J. Starling adds another solid option, ranked 229th with a 3.0 rating. Beyond those two, there's a cluster of decent support players. Nate Kings and Sadiq White both check in at 2.6. Nathan George is at 2.4, ranked 387, although the model isn't exactly a fan of him. William Kyle adds 2.3, and Keon Anthony rounds things out at 1.9. That's just the objective stats adjusted per possession and competition. Funny thing is, Nathan George is top 15 to 30 across the board. Yet whenever you ask, what rankings are you actually trusting? The answers get pretty vague. Seems like a lot of groupthink out there. And also, his .503 true shooting and a negative .43 paint, a complicated picture. I'm curious how 3 different evaluators independently conclude he's one of the studs of this class. There's definitely a way this Syracuse team can work if Freeman hits his stride and Starling levels up, but the overall model suggests the ceiling isn't all that high. If Autry can't find a spark this year, that coaching seat's going to start heating up, and fast. At number 10 in the ACC and 63rd nationally, it's Pitt with a team rating of 2.4. Now, this is a team where the coaching narrative might actually outweigh the talent on the court. Jeff pulled himself off the hot seat with that surprise NCAA run 2 years ago, but honestly, we might be circling back. Deshaun Jackson is their top guy, ranked 82nd nationally, rating 3.9. That's a legit anchor down low. Cameron Corhen follows at 121 with a 3.6 rating, but here's the rub. Those two feel a little redundant. Both are bigs who need space and touches to thrive. Brandon Cummings comes in at 561 with a 2.1, and Barry Dunning adds a 1.7. That's basically the full rotation. The roster is thin, the fit feels awkward, and I'm not convinced Capel can coax another winning season out of this group. Let's take a quick detour and talk about the bottom tier of the ACC, because even down here there's some intriguing developments. Starting with Wake Forest, 11th in the ACC, 64th nationally, with a team rating of 2.4. The roster doesn't exactly pop, but if there's one coach who knows how to extract value from transfers, it's Steve Forbes. This feels like one of those years where Wake's hunting for hidden gems just to stay relevant. Virginia Tech sits 12th in the league and 70th nationally, rated at 2.5. They were 164th last year, so this is a pretty big jump. They've got some pieces. Lowell is ranked 100th nationally with a 3.4 rating, one of the most individually talented players in this range. He's getting help too. Hansberry and Dorn both carry strong international or developmental potential. My sense is they invested in the roster this offseason rather than firing Mike Young. But if this year flops, that seat's definitely warming up. Honestly, Virginia Tech's roster is better than West Virginia's right now. At number 13 in the ACC, we have Notre Dame sitting 79th nationally with a team rating of 2.3. Marcus Burton is back, and he's a real piece, ranked 90th with a 3.8 rating. He's joined by Braden Shrewsbury, 309th, 2.7, Jalen Harrelson, 354th, 2.6, and Keba Njie, 405th, 2.7. 2.4 solid continuity, but losing Tay Davis hurt, and unless Harrelson makes a star-level leap immediately, the team's upside feels limited. Georgia Tech checks in at 14th in the league, 84th nationally, rated 2.1. This is your classic high-variance team, low floor, but with the best player at this level, Bayan Dungo. He's ranked 119th nationally with a 3.6 rating, and he's a matchup nightmare. Add in Luke O'Brien, 357th, 2.6, and Muhammad Silla, 492nd, 2.2. And yeah, this team can pull off some upsets, but overall depth, still lacking. 15th in the ACC and 85th overall is Cal. They've had better rosters under Madsen, and this version feels underwhelming. Ritus Petritus is the highest rated player here, 207th nationally with a 3.1 rating. Chris Bell can shoot and has upside. Ranked 330th with a 2.6 rating. Die Ames checks in at 515th with a 2.1. Beyond that, we're talking rotation level guys like Lee Dort, 626, 1.9, and Joshua Ola-Joseph, 686th, 1.9, 1.8. Not a scary team. Florida State is 16th in the conference, 86th nationally, with a team rating of 2.1. Despite some rumored budget issues, Luke's actually pieced together something that makes sense. Alex Steen is a D2 guy who averaged 17 and 10, 215th nationally with a 3.1 rating. Wiggins got poached from Clemson and adds of value, 428, 2.3. And Daquan Davis is right there as well, 438, 2.3. It's not a top-tier roster, but it's coherent, which is more than we could say last year. I don't think the FSU coach did any worse than Villanova in the portal. Their roster actually rates pretty similarly in my rankings. I just don't know what to expect from him coaching or managing it, but there are encouraging signs that he has a clue. There are several examples at this roster tier where you have to give coaches like Willard the benefit of the doubt if it's close in the rankings. I can at least see what Lux is going for. He took some nice gambles, worked the fit, and probably did well on a budget. That's way better than what's going on at places like Seton Hall. FSU is going to depend on guards from Drexel and Lowell who played against 290 to 330 strength of schedule teams. McRae isn't much better, and it's not like they were dominating that level either. They have roles and skills, sure. I could buy into them being a little better than the sum of their parts. With size and shooting on the perimeter, there's potential, but usually when a team has that combo, they're giving up something else, probably getting overwhelmed athletically or lacking dribble penetration. Where's the size in the post? It's Wiggins, who's more of an unproductive small forward type or a D2 to 8 guy. Factor in a coach who's never been a head coach, and I don't see it. I like it better than Rutgers, Seton Hall, or Penn State, but that's not saying much. Stanford checks in 17th in the ACC, 98th nationally with a 1.8 rating, and they're in full rebuild mode. They failed to replace Reynaud in any meaningful way. The best player might be Dent Smith, 488th nationally with a 2.2 rating, or maybe Ryan Agarwal, 569th, 2.0. After that, it drops to guys like Benny Geeler, 572nd, and Chisholm Okpara, 625th, both under 2.0. They'll be counting on returning 6 to 7 points per game guys to step up big time. Not ideal. And finally, dead last in the ACC, Boston College. But here's the twist. They're 109th nationally with a team rating of 1.8. Honestly, the roster doesn't look that bad. Donald Hand Jr. leads the way at 206 nationally with a 3.1 rating, more star power than most teams this low have. Chase Fort is ranked 629th, 1.9, and Dion Brown, Fred Payne, and Elijah Strong are all clustered between 740 and 780 with 1.7 ratings. It's not flashy, but it's functional. The problem, consistency. Earl Grant hasn't been able to keep the momentum going. Still, this could be one of his better squads. That's it for this episode. Be sure to check out the resourcenexus.com for the full rankings and stay tuned as we break down more conferences coming up. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you got some good insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who'd find it useful. And don't forget to check out the resourcenexus.com for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, check you later.
Cool. Guess we'll see you around.
All right, check you later.
Bye.
Wait, man, why are you always such a dork, man?
What are you talking
Check
about?
you later. Check you later.